Welcome to You Can Call Me Goddess because you're so much more than a queen. My name is Manouk. I am a trained intuitive energy healer specialized in transforming your body and your life. In this podcast, we are going to be diving into everything to unlock the goddess that you are within you. Think of it as the ultimate glow up from the inside out. It's time to unlock your power. It's time to unlock your magic. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to another You Can Call Me Goddess podcast. I am going to be honest with you. Today, I was not sure what direction to go in with the podcast. There has been so much going on. Well, this week, I don't know about you, but March has been absolutely insane. And I've been feeling that energy from other people. It's like, it was the new year, the Chinese New Year of the running fire horse or something like that. And it's like literally everything is just like amplified. It's so busy. There's so much going on. I don't even know, like my brain was like, I need to try and get a grasp of everything. It was a little overwhelming, and I feel like other people, I've spoken to more people, they've been feeling the same thing. Lots of things going on, probably because it's time for us to start shifting and really stepping into what we are capable of. But oh my goodness, sometimes when you're in the moment, you're like, let it be over, please, because I'm exhausted. At least that's what it felt like for me. It has been since the start of March, and one of my favorite months is March because it's my birthday month. And so yeah, I'm one of those girls that gets excited about their birthday. So I was like excited about it, but it's just been nonstop. And now finally, basically what's been going on, I'll catch you up a little bit. I had a friend visit. Then the weekend after, it was my birthday, my mom visited. But in the middle of my mom visiting, we also were preparing to move to a different apartment. So it was a lot, like it was just hectic, when your mind is just full and you're like running your business and you're doing this and you're expanding and you're moving house, and it's like becomes this overwhelming thing where you are like, how the hell am I going to do all of this? How am I going to manage all of this? And the thing is, every single time you get through it. And if you're going through that phase right now, you get through it, and then you're going to be on the other end, or you're going to be like, oh my God, I made it. I knew I would. And you make it this big thing. So that's what I kind of wanted to dive into today. There's something that I wanted to dive into today that is coming up, and definitely with me, I will give you my personal perspective on this and how this has been happening in my life, probably in your life. It is something that we all have, obviously, but I'm talking about emotions. But what I'm more talking about is like fight or flight, and when you don't even know that you're in fight or flight, and you actually aren't even aware, like literally you're not even aware of that you're in that phase. So I'll give you a little bit of background without giving away too much because I can't at this moment in time. But I'll give you a little bit of information. Basically, I am in a situation where I am working through some big reflections, some shifts in my relationship, and that's been going on for quite a while. And honestly, I'm going to be real with you guys. I am like not in the mood to face it. This is the thing. I'll be completely honest with you. I want to like let you guys know that you're not alone in this. Like everybody is going through this stuff, and it's just an opportunity to grow, but it's sometimes you just don't want to do it. And that is when you're in fight or flight. Sometimes you're not even aware that you're in fight or flight in these situations. So I'll give you a little bit of background. Basically, I'm in this situation where it's kind of in limbo. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. And my emotions are getting the better of me in this situation. And so this is what I want to dive into today. And I want you to start getting a feel of how impactful emotions can be. And I want to tie in also how this starts actually amplifying the things that you don't want. That's the difficult part. And it's so hard, especially if you are in the intuitive space or you are a coach or you're working on this stuff. It's so hard to look in on yourself because those emotions get the better of you sometimes, because we're human and the ego likes to step in and the ego likes to keep us safe and keep us happy in the moment instead of in the long run. It is a lot easier to disconnect, look at someone else's situation, and be able to clearly pull information for that person or guide someone else because you're not in it, right? You can see it from a bigger picture. You can take like out, you can, I want to say magnifying glass, but you can zoom out. That's the word that I was looking for. You can zoom out and be like, look at everything that is going on. So what has been going on with me, I'll give a little example, a little background. It has been, my soul pass, soul pull, what I do, my career is my number one value right now. It's like the one thing that I focus on the most. I love doing this. I love creating content for you guys. I love seeing you guys transform. This is because it's my soul pass, soul pull. I am so passionate about it. And I am so passionate about what I'm creating that it is literally the main thing that I focus on. So what happens when that happens? And I'm sure you have that maybe also with your financial area of life, with your career, with one area of life where you're just focusing on it more than anything else. And we kind of touched upon that in the previous podcast, where what happens when we do this is we laser focus on the one thing that we think is going to grow. And then we kind of forget the other areas of life, or we neglect them. And that's a big problem because it's the other areas of life that are going to get you to expand. And believe me, I feel you, because I am right now in a phase that some of these areas of life I don't want to look at. I just can't be bothered. That is the energy that I feel. And the reason I can't be bothered is probably because I need to look at those areas of life. I need to work through that stuff because that is probably where I'm going to make the biggest shifts. So what happens here is, like, for me, we were in this big move. There's a lot going on, and I felt like it was just over, like, sucking up all my energy and all my time, and I hated it. I am one of those people that does not like being restricted, does not like being does not like being controlled, or doesn't like being restricted in what I'm allowed to be doing. I value my freedom very much. And when I feel like I can't move or do what I want to do, I get very agitated, very irritable, very annoyed. However, as you all know, what is the things that are happening in your life, how your partner communicates to you, what happens in your life are all reflective components. So somewhere I am restricting myself, right? I am stopping myself from being free, or seeing that I'm free, or feeling controlled, or feeling restricted. So this is the key component here. We often look at these situations and and I know because this is part of a big soul lesson that I'm going through, we look at these situations and we're like, why is everything happening at the same time? I mean, there's so much going on. I need my freedom, like almost like that get away from me energy. So all these issues that you're just like, get away from me. And it's really funny because I have spoken to my mom so many times where she's like, it's like it never stops. I feel like we're always on a train that just keeps moving and there's too much going on. And obviously it's because she's creating that, right? We're all creating our own situations. Again, taking radical responsibility. We're creating every single bit of this. Even me, all of this stress, all of this craziness, I'm creating it. So really what happens is that because you're creating it, it means that you are doing this somewhere to yourself, right? So we don't see that, especially when you're in it. You don't see it because as an intuitive, as having knowledge of the laws of the universe, I know this. Like, obviously, I know that that's going on. But when you're emotional about it and when you're in it, even when you're an intuitive, we're human, we're all human. So the human part of us is in that situation and is just like, oh, why is all of this happening? And it takes time to, really figure out what is happening. But then once you get a hang of it, you can really navigate. And that's the beauty of understanding reflections. It's a life changer, and understanding how you're creating these situations. It is all showing you on a deeper level where you are restricting yourself, where you are stopping yourself from allowing yourself to be free because you're doing it to yourself. To the extent things are happening to you is to the extent that it is you're doing it to yourself somewhere. It can be in one of the 8 areas of your life. And that's where we often get stuck, because we're like, no, I'm not doing that to myself. Again, that's probably your ego saying that you're not doing it to yourself, because you are. Otherwise, it wouldn't be reflected back at you. That is how it works, unfortunately. So in this scenario as well, in that scenario, when you're in it, you're just like, oh, why is this all happening to me? The better question is, how is this happening for me, and how am I creating this situation right now? And it can be difficult when you're in it to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and see what you're gaining. So if you can, try and do that in the moment. If not, take a step back later and ask yourself, okay, what happened just then, and why did this happen? Because I'm obviously creating this situation to happen. And that is where it becomes very powerful to start realizing when your emotions are high. And the funny thing is, like, literally, I had a call with my mentor about, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And in the call, he literally said to me, he was like, yeah, you need to re-listen to this because you were highly emotional throughout the call. And I was like, what? Because that's the funny thing, right? Our ego likes to deflect from the fact that we are emotional. In our mind, we're like, I'm not emotional. I was super chill. Probably if you think that, you were emotional. And then looking back at it, yes, I was like super high strung. I wanted to ask so many questions. There was so much on my mind. And I was like, oh yeah, I was definitely emotional. So this is the thing. The thing with emotions is, and I'm going to explain this a little bit because I think it is important that we get a deeper understanding of this and explain why this becomes a big issue. We are emotional beings. Emotions are super powerful. They are super powerful at creating. To be more specific, they have a 65% effect on your creator field. If you're new here, go listen to some of the other podcasts. We dive a little bit more into the creator field and all of that stuff. But basically, I always like to recap: the creator field is your electromagnetic field. It is what is dictated by your subconscious thoughts, and it creates all situation, circumstance, and matter around you. And your emotions have a 65% effect on what you are creating. That is why when you want to create something new in your life and reprogram your mindset, you want to emotionally connect to the belief systems that you are creating, the new pathways that you are creating. And there are techniques to do that. And some people have certain techniques that work for them and others work for others. And I'm always playing around with different techniques to emotionally connect more, because it can be difficult sometimes to fully emotionally connect. So you want to really feel those emotions and connect them with memories, feel those emotions, really hone in on them. That is why it's often difficult with negative memories or limiting beliefs we have. When it comes to negative emotions, they are so potent that a lot of the time when we are experiencing something negative, we feel those emotions so deeply that it gets ingrained in our subconscious a lot quicker, and obviously has a big effect on our creator field a lot quicker because we connect to it emotionally. Those upsetting moments that I can pick up memories immediately where you weren't feeling good enough, or I had, for example, my body was one of my biggest obstacles that I faced, and is one of the biggest catalysts for creating the business that I'm in, and also experiencing obstacles in my relationships and all of this stuff. Memories such as going to the changing room and trying on a pair of jeans, and once again them not fitting and me breaking down in the changing room. Those are these big memories that create these limiting beliefs of not being capable, not being good enough, not being beautiful enough, because you have these deep emotions that are connected to them, and then they compound because of other experiences that obviously your higher self wants you to overcome, because when you overcome them, that's when you start shifting your reality. They start interlinking. So you'll have a different situation, for example, also something that happened to me where you get criticized by a partner and then you feel less. And it's a constant thing, right? So it's this constant thing where you keep compounding those negative emotions about those negative experiences, so they become these neural pathways. So what we want to start doing is we want to start doing the opposite. We want to start reconnecting with the positive stuff, but it can be more difficult sometimes to connect with those positive emotions because those negative emotions can be so potent. And that's why we have techniques to fully land in and feel those emotions so that you can get fully rooted to those emotions, because that is what is really going to start shifting the things that you desire. We've touched upon this as well in podcasts. That's why affirmations don't work, because when you're saying affirmations in the mirror, you're not emotionally connecting. So it actually has a negative effect on creating that new neural pathway. Emotions are so powerful. And I want you to become aware of this, because especially if you're also training your intuition, and when you had a gut feeling, because I'm sure you've heard of those relationships, right? Where a woman has a gut feeling about a man doing something, cheating on them, when in like a lot of the time, yes, we're right about this stuff, but sometimes this gut feeling is actually an emotional reaction to past experiences, and the partner was never actually cheating. So this gut feeling is actually overridden by an emotion, by a limiting belief that she has created or he has created. And so it becomes this bigger thing. Emotions have a 95% effect on your intuition. And I'm saying even if you're 17% emotional, it still has a 95% effect on your intuition, which means that when you're trying to get intuitive information and you don't have the tools to calm down your emotions or to neutralize your emotions, it is going to be hard to get really precise answers, because emotions play such a big role in the answers that you are getting. Because if you're emotional about it, it's going to affect the answer that you are going to get. It's going to affect your gut feeling. Your gut feeling might actually be an emotion and not an intuitive hit. And this is where I wanted to go with this today. And I'm going to out myself because, woohoo, super fun. I'm going to share with you my situation, and maybe some of you are going through something similar. And that is the fact that when we are emotional about something and we're uncomfortable in a situation, we want to leave that situation. So when it comes to me going through this move and all of this stuff and dealing with a relationship that is extremely reflective to me right now, and it's something that I've been trying to work through for a couple years now, I am emotional about it. I'm emotional about it, not in the way that you would describe emotional, not in the way that I'm crying, screaming, upset, more in the way of, how do I say this? I want to get it over with kind of energy. And it's like, I want to get it over with. I want to get all this stuff over with. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want to leave. Out of discomfort, I want to leave. That is the feeling that I get because I'm uncomfortable. I feel like it's getting in my way, when we all know this, it's actually not. It's giving me the things that I need. It's giving me the growth that I need. It is literally part of the path that I'm meant to be walking, to go through this, face the crap, and go through it and gain the lessons, gain the growth through this situation. And I know for a fact there's some of you in here listening to this podcast that are going through situations where you have the same thing. It's this fight or flight response where we are like, I want to leave, I'm over it, I'm done. Whether that be in a job, whether that be living somewhere. Oh my God, that is something that I can talk about because my partner is constantly on the move because of his fight or flight. He always thinks the grass is greener somewhere else. And I've had this as well, where you think the grass is greener somewhere else. I'm literally in it. The grass is greener somewhere else. But here is the kicker. When you can make a good situation out of a bad situation, so the worst situation that you are in, and you can make that profitable in in a way of happiness, financial abundance, growth, whatever that is. You can make that a good situation. And it's literally imagine you're in the most impossible situation. You feel like you can't make your way out. If you can make your way out of the most impossible situation, how amazing do you think that is once you actually are in a situation that is more lucrative? I don't know how else to explain it. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. If you're in a country where it is, using my own example, if you're in a country where it is difficult to reach certain people's I keep doing this. I don't know why I keep doing this. Where it is difficult to grow and where it is difficult to access or connect with a lot of people, grow your business. And you feel like if I move to a different country, that is going to expand my business. Or if, for example, you are in an uncomfortable position when it comes to work and you feel like if I move and go to a different job or quit my job, I will finally have the space to create the things that I desire. Of course, there are rare moments where it is time that you leave a certain situation, where it is time to shift and get out of a situation and move on. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, when you think it is time to leave or you think it is time to end something or get out of a situation, a lot of the time that is a big sign that you still need to stay. I know it really, really sucks. And if you're feeling triggered or if you're thinking, no, that's not me, it's probably you. It's probably you. I'm so sorry. It's probably you because I've had that thought multiple times. And basically what this shows you, if you can make a good situation out of the most impossible situation, you basically have all the power and tools that you've proven to yourself that you can create something out of nothing all the time, which means you are in full control. You are in full power over everything that you create. And that gives you the tools in your toolbox that when you're in a higher stakes situation, sorry if you heard road noise just then, if you're in a higher stakes situation, for example, you are in a space where your business is thriving, you're in the best place ever, the country that you want to be in, the relationship that you want to be in, but something goes wrong, you now have access to tools because you went through a shit situation, made it into an amazing situation, and now you have tools in your toolbox to be able to shift out of any situation, right? So that is the cool thing. We want to use the situations that we are in almost kind of like an experiment. I know it sounds kind of, but it's true. We want to look at it like an experiment. If you can hone in on your own energy and shift the way that you view yourself and see how other people shift around you as a result of you shifting the way that you view yourself, as a result of doing what you can do in the current situation, that is going to give you, can you just connect with the feeling that would give you? That would give you such an elated feeling, like anything is possible. Like anything is possible. So if you are in the trenches right now, if you're struggling in a situation and you feel like there is no way out, there probably is. It's just time for you to dig deeper. I know because I'm there. And this is probably a sign that you're very close to getting yourself out of the trenches. It's like that last home run. You got to just move through that stuff. And this is where emotions sometimes get the better of us. Emotions get the better of us because we get uncomfortable. And this is where the ego likes to come into play. So the ego, the human self, right? We call the ego also the human self. The human self likes to keep us comfortable in a known uncomfortability. So how do I explain this? Basically, when it comes to the situation that I am in and I'm uncomfortable and I want to leave and I'm like over it, right? Or you're experiencing something like that. It's like, I'm over it. It's too uncomfortable. I don't want to face it anymore. That is probably the sign that you want to dive deeper into that situation. That is probably the sign that now you're trying to avoid an obstacle. You're trying to move around it. And the shit thing is that if you try and move around that, what happens is you're going to be faced with a bigger obstacle with bigger consequences. So looking at a situation that is uncomfortable right now, Your ego thinks it's uncomfortable. It wants to get you back into a comfortable state. So we think of the first thing to do that we want to shift the outside world. We want to shift the outside world because that's going to make us feel more comfortable. But as we know, this world that we're living in is an inside out world, not an outside in world. And this is something that I will never forget. My mom used to always say to me when I wanted to leave or do something, this is why we try to, when we're in a stressful situation, we want to change our hair or we want to change and move to a different country or we want to go to a different space. It's because we think by shifting something on the outside, you're going to shift something on the inside. It does not work. My mom would always say, like when I wanted to travel or move somewhere, because I kind of have that bug because I grew up abroad. So I have that bug where I like, when I'm like, okay, I'm over it, I want to move now. It's this thing that you have because you think when you move, and sometimes it's the right decision. That's why we want intuition. That's why we want balanced intuition, because then you know if it's the right situation or the right decision to make. But my mom would always say, honey, remember, wherever you go, you're going to take yourself with you. I was like, oh, thanks. But it's so true, right? Because you can't outrun yourself. You have to take yourself with you. So all the stuff that you're trying to shift through internally, you still need to shift through, even if you're in a different country, even if you're in a different relationship, even if you're at a different job. That stuff is probably going to amplify more. And here's the thing. If you're in a situation that is uncomfortable right now, so if you're in a relationship that is uncomfortable right now, or you're living somewhere that's uncomfortable right now, or you're did I already say in a career that is uncomfortable right now because you feel like it's not where you want to be yet, imagine being able to shift through that, like I said earlier, make it into something amazing, recognizing how powerful you are and your capability to shift through that. And then, as a result, feeling so empowered because you can shift through that in this situation that is not even high stakes because you know you want to leave eventually, but you want to first see if you can make it into a good situation. Then you have a low stakes situation that you can shift. And that is so much more beneficial than if you're in a high stakes situation. When you're in a high stakes situation, like being married to the man of your dreams, and then all these reflections come up, and you don't want to get divorced or you don't want to lose that relationship, we get way more emotional, we get way more worried, and it gets a lot harder to shift through this stuff when it's a high stakes situation. So it's so much better to do it in a situation that you know that you want to leave and actually see what you can create. Not only because then you can connect with what you can create and how you can shift everything on your own without anyone else doing anything else, without the external world shifting, but also because then you know you have the tools in your toolbox once you're in the position that you fully want to be in. You know how to shift through tricky situations or things that will become obstacles in that situation because you have all the tools, because you experimented in the past, gained all the knowledge, gained all the experience, and now you know what to do in a hard situation. So what I want to say here is that if you're feeling emotional, like you want to get out of something, and again, I want to just put a little disclaimer. Of course, if you're in a situation that you really, because it's toxic or you really need to get out of it, depending on how intense it is, always look in. This doesn't apply for everybody, but for the majority of us, it does apply. Because again, any situation, that's sometimes a little bit difficult to comprehend for everybody, but even the worst situations, it is all a reflection of your subconscious. So you have the power to change all of that, no matter how bad the situation is. It sometimes becomes a lot more difficult when you're highly emotional about it, because then you can't see clearly on what next action steps to take. So that is why I'm saying low stakes situation. It's better to do it in a low stakes situation and actually shift through that stuff in that moment rather than wait for a high stakes situation to do something like that. But what I want you to take away from this is, if you're feeling like that, overwhelmed, like you want to leave a situation, like you're over it, like it's time for you to get out, Ask yourself the question, do you want to get out because it's getting too uncomfortable? And ask yourself the question, would you stay if you could shift this into something? Well, that's a little bit of a difficult one. Actually, what are you going to gain if you leave right now, rather than what are you going to gain if you can shift this, make it into the best thing possible, have those tools in your toolbox, and then start working towards or opening yourself up to something that you desire. Because the thing is, if you haven't shifted your internal belief systems, your subconscious thoughts and belief systems around certain situations, no matter what you're going to do. So if you then go and take a different job, or if you then go and enter a new relationship, eventually those same obstacles are going to show up. Probably more intense because you need to shift through them. Because that is an internal block that your partner is responding towards. That is an internal block that your job or your workspace is responding towards. That is what you need to shift. Even the area that you're living in, if you can't make the best out of a bad situation, then it's going to be a lot more difficult when you're actually in the place that you want to be in to maintain that and keep it at the stage that you desire and keep growing that, because you haven't proven to yourself or given yourself the opportunity to experiment and play around with what it is that you need to shift to make the best out of a bad situation. Trying to run away from something uncomfortable never gets you where you want to be. You want to always look inward and see, why is this uncomfortable for me? What is it? Why am I creating this? What am I feeling around this? And how am I feeling emotional about this? And that's something that's difficult, going back to the emotional component, because we sometimes don't even think, that's the funny thing, that we are emotional, right? Like I mentioned earlier, even in those situations, what happens is I'm not emotional. No, that's not true. It's because I'm like super amplified in those moments and super on edge. So I'm actually super emotional and being triggered. The moment you're triggered is a sign that there's something that you need to lean into and work through. And that's so much easier said than done when you're in this situation. But if you can at least identify and take a minute when you're triggered in those moments to be like, oh, I'm triggered, so obviously this is something that I need to work through, that is already going to help you shift these things. If you can start already looking at those situations and asking yourself the question, how am I creating this? Why am I triggered? What is it that I need to shift? Because obviously it's triggering something. It's triggering something that is uncomfortable and you're reacting to that. So there's something that you need to shift through in that moment. Otherwise you wouldn't be triggered. So that is, be grateful for those triggers, because those triggers are showing you what it is that you need to shift. And obviously that is why intuition is super helpful, because when you start developing your intuition and you have tools to calm down your emotions, they're so helpful and so powerful. What happens is then we can take a step back, we can calm down the emotion, and then we can also intuitively connect with what it is that is actually triggering you in that moment, what it's trying to reflect, what you need to shift and work through, what is the lesson that you need to gain from these situations. We want to try and find shortcuts, but unfortunately, by trying to find shortcuts without actually going through the shortcuts, this is the funny thing, because it's like fitness, right? It's the same thing. Or business. Anything, actually. We want a quick fix. We want something that fixes it quickly. But the funny thing is, every time we look at the quick fix, it's actually the longer route. That quick fix is going to get you temporary results, and then you're going to be back at square one. So the quick fix is always the one that's going to take more time and take you looking in deeper, facing the real obstacles that you are facing. So if you're trying to get out of it by trying to move around it, that again is an emotional response. It's your ego acting up, and it is not getting you where you want to be. Think about a moment where you've gone through something. You wanted to get out of it, whether that be with your body, career, relationship, whatever it is. Oh, I've got the perfect example. When I'm in an argument with my partner, I want to get out of it. So what do? I do everything that I think is going to get me out of it. I know it's not, but in that moment, I literally start going, I start like retreating, like, no, I don't want to be in this. Stop, get away from me. That is the feeling that I get. I hope you can all identify with that feeling. Like, no. And the thing that I do when I do that is actually I extend the argument. By wanting to get out, I extend the argument. This is such the perfect like example of that happening in a small moment. By wanting to get out so badly, again, the law of opposing forces is also at play here. It's like, I don't want this right now, so then you're going to get it more. So instead of facing the issue, working through the problem and calming down my emotions, working through the problem, which would probably be so much faster than if I were to run away. Because when I run away, it just keeps chasing me. The problem keeps chasing me. These things take longer. So this is what you want to refer to. Think about those moments where you're like, you want to get out of something, you want the quick fix, but then it causes more problems. It's like with health stuff as well, like with fitness stuff, we look for those quick weight loss pills or we do those quick crash diets. What ends up happening is we get temporary results, and then after that we gain 20 more pounds instead of losing them because we tried to do a quick fix that isn't sustainable, that isn't going to get you where you want to be. So the emotional response, the response of wanting to run away, the response of I'm uncomfortable, I want to get out of this, is often this is where you need to sit through it. You need to sit through it. You need to work through it. You need to face it. This is as much a pep talk for you as it is for me. This is where you want to face it. In these moments, you want to sit, you want to observe. That's what I want you to do. Start observing the emotions, the feelings that are coming up. Feel how your face moves, because this is what happens with me. My face tells exactly what I'm feeling. Take a moment and relax your face. If you're feeling tension in the body in those moments, with the discomfort, relax it. Relax everything that you're feeling in that moment. Take a step back, look at it from a little step backward and see, okay, what am I gaining from the situation right now? What would I lose out on if I try to run away from this and try to bypass this? Because the thing is, bypassing these obstacles, these things that are uncomfortable, you're actually setting yourself up for more failure than if you were to face it and move through it. That's the funny thing. We look at obstacles a lot of the time as these big things that are happening, and they are happening, but we forget that obstacles are literally also the little moments where you're triggered, the little moments where you don't want to move through things. So when I talk about you want to move through obstacles, it's also those little situations. The ones that you're avoiding are the ones that you want to work through. So think of all the areas of life that you know need work, but you're avoiding right now. The reason you're avoiding them is because your ego is trying to keep you stuck in your old ways. And you actually want to work through those things, because the things that you're avoiding are most likely, probably most definitely, the ones that are going to give you the biggest shifts, the biggest change in your life. So avoiding them is actually setting you back. Avoiding the discomfort is setting you back. And that is what I mean with the ego likes to be in a known discomfort, a discomfort that we know of, rather than going into the unknown, facing something that we don't know what we're going to get if we actually face it and work through it. But that is where the gold is. That is where the gold is. And this is also where society has also told us to leave uncomfortable situations. Yes, there's truth to that. But on the other end, there's more truth to seeing and feeling in on how you're creating this. Why we're in this age where if something is slightly uncomfortable, we leave or we quit. But it's actually where you make the most growth if you work through that. And you shift through that, because these are the most telling situations. These are the most telling situations. And imagine if you can shift that discomfort into something that is the most lucrative, flourishing situation that you could be in that is going to reinforce the power, the creator power that you have. And that's going to do wonders for your creator field. And then you're also going to see how that's going to domino effect and apply to all the other areas of your life. It's going to have such a big impact on the other areas of life. So if we think about right now, one of the areas of life that you are avoiding right now, I want you to try this week to actually face that area, work through that area, because that area is probably the one that is going to shift everything else in your life. So, and this is also where the law of focus kicks our ass a lot, because what we do in these situations where we're uncomfortable, we start focusing on how they are not meant for us. See, this is not meant for me because X, Y, and Z. See, I knew that was happening. See, etc., etc., etc. Like if you're in a job and things go wrong at your job, you're going to look at it like confirmations. You're going to be like, oh, see, I knew. It's a sign. It's a sign that I'm not meant to be here. Or see, it's not working out because I need to leave. When in reality, those signs that you're seeing are actually things that you are creating with your creator field because you're focusing on them. Same in a relationship. You're going to focus on all the negatives in your relationship. When you do that, you create more of the negatives. You literally create more of the negatives. I have a friend who said the same thing to me. She was struggling with her relationship and she was like, I tried something new. I tried focusing on how the good things. And then what started happening? More of the good things started happening. And this is why emotions, the laws of the universe are so incredibly important, because when you crack the code on this stuff, you crack the code on everything. And it's so funny because we know a lot of this stuff. Like we've heard it so many times, law of focus, what you focus on grows, but we forget the little moments in which we are doing it. We forget the little moments in which we're doing it, like even in work. Oh, see, I knew there aren't results. Every time you focus on no results, you're going to get more of no results. If you can look at the breadcrumbs of how things are working out, how things are changing, how things are shifting, the moment you start focusing on those breadcrumbs, the moment those breadcrumbs grow, I want to say like grow into bread. That's not how that works. But the moment they grow and you start seeing where it's leading you, you start seeing how everything else is growing. But we are so ingrained and so programmed to look at how things are not working out. And that's how we keep creating things not working out. And then you're going to stay stuck in this cycle. So if you want to tap into the life that is meant for you, because you're all destined for so much more than you think. Literally, the majority of us are tapping into maybe 15, 20, sometimes 30% of our life's potentials. I look in on so many people and see that they're only tapping into such a small amount of their life's potentials. And when you start tapping into this knowledge and you start tapping into these tools and your intuition and connecting with your true core self, and you start recognizing that your emotions are creating so much of your life around you, and your emotions are overriding a lot of the decisions that you are making, and we can actually use those emotions in a positive way by focusing on how things are working out, by focusing on how things are shifting, by focusing on where we are seeing the progress, where we are seeing the change. And we can use that power, because this power that you have is so incredibly potent. And that is literally why you're creating obstacles. I was speaking to someone yesterday also, and it was like, life is just a whole bunch of shit. And I was like, that is such a grim and negative way of looking at it. And we've all been taught to look at life like that. It's not. Life is beautiful. Life is amazing. Did you know that souls fight to be in this realm? I know, crazy, because we all think it's insane over here, but it's because there's so much growth, there's so much experience, there's so much emotion that is actually so beautiful, so powerful. It's just the problem that we focus on the negatives of these emotions a lot of the time. And so we keep creating negative things instead of creating positive things. And so what I want you to realize is, like, all the stuff that you are creating, the things that are obstacles right now, the things that you are uncomfortable with right now, you're creating them, which means look at how powerful you are. Now that you know that you're this powerful, use that. Use that power to shift it into something different. To shift it in, it's so beautiful. There's something else that's coming to mind that I just like. It's like I have this one YouTuber. Such a millennial. So literally not a YouTuber. My partner, he's a zillennial, I guess. Like he's still a millennial, but kind of Gen Z. So he watches YouTube, and he told me to start watching some YouTube as well. And so this is something that we ended up doing. And there was this one really wholesome YouTuber. Go check him out if you want to watch wholesome content. I love his content. His name is Ryan Trahan. Some of you may already know him, but it's so cool. Like this is literal creator field work at work. He goes and tests like negative reviews. So there are like 1-star reviews on hotels and places and restaurants. But because he is so positive and he focuses on the positive, the beauty, the perfection in things, and because his energy is so wholesome and beautiful, he goes to these 1-star experiences and has a great time. He looks at reviews where staff is super like uninterested and disrespectful and things like that. Those are the reviews. And then he goes and experiences them. And because his creator field is working for him and he's so positive and he's focused on the positive, he only gets positive experiences. I have yet to see, maybe there has been 1 or 2 negative situations because he's human and he also has, he doesn't know that he's doing this, but it's so insane because it shows you how your creator field literally shifts experiences based on your internal belief systems and what you focus on. It changes everything. It is all about perspective. It is all about your creator field, about your emotions, about what you focus on. Literally try it. When you're, even Murphy's Law, it's the same thing. When we focus on negative things, all we get is more negative things. So in that uncomfortable situation that you are in, you're probably focusing on all the negatives. What are the positives in the situation that you are in? What is it giving you? How is it allowing you to do what you want to do? Because I guarantee it 100%. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in that situation. And watch it when you start focusing on the positive, how the other person, the situation, whatever you're in starts to change and shift. The more we resist something, the more we push away from something, the more it becomes uncomfortable and the more it follows us, basically. The more it chases us, the more it starts manifesting, right? When we don't want something, the more it comes after us. It's literally the same thing, right? Dating, same thing. Law of opposing forces. It's just the thing. When we're uninterested in someone, that person comes after us. The moment we're interested in them, they stop. It's such a potent thing. It's a literal magnets working together. Like the opposite magnets, right? When you flip, you attract, and when you turn them around, they push away from each other. So that is how powerful you are. And when you can shift that perspective, look at the shitty situation that you're in and be like, wow, I created this. Wow, I must be powerful at creating things if I created this. Now, let me shift my perspective and see how things start to change. And I just ask you to experiment with it, to just play around with it. Look at the situations that you're in, especially the ones that you want to get out of. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why you want to get out of it. Is it because you think then something is going to release? Or then something that you're facing, you feel like it's going to bring some sort of relief? Sometimes that's where we want intuition. You want to see and, connect with if that is the right move. But sometimes it's not. A lot of the time, it's a sign that you need to face it. Because running away from an issue is never going to solve it. It's just going to pop up in a different area, in a different part of your life. And if you really want to solve an issue, work through an issue, you've got to face it. You've got to face it head on and work through it. And some of you are going to feel like incredibly triggered and be like, no, but I don't want to do it. I know because I'm there. I feel you. I feel like I want to run away sometimes. 100%. A lot of the time, actually, I'm like, no, I'm good. I think I've done all the work. Nope. There's always more layers, especially if you're a higher frequency being. I hate to break it to you. There's more layers to go through, but I promise you, you're meant for so much more. And that's why your higher self knows that you're capable of working through this, making it through this, and shifting and creating something that you truly desire and that is meant for you. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. A lot of experiences that I'm going through that also have to do with this. So I'll keep you updated on how that's going. But in the meantime, ask yourself these questions when you feel like this, when you feel this resistance, when you feel like you want to get out of a situation, when you're highly emotional about something, even though you feel like you're not. Actually sit for a second and feel in your body. How does your body feel? Like you'll feel it in your face. You'll feel it in how tense you are. Like you'll feel it in your body if you're actually emotional about something. And then obviously if you have intuition, test how emotional am I about this? How emotional am I right now? Make sure you balance that out because the emotions are basically painting the picture of what you're seeing right now. So we want to take that emotion down so that you get a clearer view of what is going on. And if you're feeling stuck on any of this, or you need more intuitive insight about a situation and you don't know if what you're getting is right, or if you're making the right decision, or if you're like, is this an emotional thing or is this an intuitive hit, or what is it actually that I need to do? Feel free to reach out. I can always take a look in intuitively and see what it is that you need to do. And if maybe you need to look into another avenue or reach out to someone else or get you the help that you need, the intuitive advice that you need to get you moving forward, to get you moving through these obstacles in a much quicker, much more efficient way, because we have tools for that. We have tools to actually not bypass obstacles, but make them quicker, make them less intense, shift through them in a more efficient way. And that is what intuition is for. That is what the laws of the universe help you do, so that you don't have to go through it 10,000 times. You can go through it maybe once, or maybe even just see what the lesson is that you're meant to learn and learn it before having to go through it, and then shift, because you need to gain the lessons. That's what it's all about. That is what you're here for. And if you need help with that, if you want a deeper understanding of what is going on with you, feel free to reach out. I am always here to help you look in, get that intuitive advice, and see what it is that is the next step for you to shift through this. And if you need extra guidance, we can look into who can guide you, if there's something out there that is going to help you shift through the situation, or if you just need to look at it from a different perspective. Anyways, beautiful, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to You Can Call Me Goddess. I am so happy that you joined us in this show today. If you feel like this podcast gave you any sort of life change or value, then share it with someone you think would also get a lot of value out of it, because maybe it could just be that one thing that changes that person's life. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a nice rating below or in the show, because we would love to expand more on topics that you enjoy and keep this podcast up and running. Anyways, thank you, beautiful, and I hope to see you in the next podcast.